Jim Barker joins us from the CFL on TSN. And I guess I'll start here, Coach, with our viewers voted the Banjo Bowl as the biggest game of Week 14. But in your mind, what do you think will be the best game in Week 14?
Well, they all have so much intrigue. I mean, this game tonight, which BC team is going to come out? The one that's lost 5 out of 6 or the one that played well for a game against Ottawa? And then you have the best team, arguably the best team in the league, one of the best teams that's been in this league in a lot of years. They're, 18-1, I think, over the 2-year period. So obviously that's the start of the second half of the season. After Labor Day is like our second season. And so that's obviously a huge game, huge for BC because they're in a dogfight. And they're a 500 team right now. Their quarterback, are they going to leave Nathan Rourke in? Vernon Adams is going to be on the roster. So many intriguing questions with that one. Obviously, the Banjo Bowl is the Banjo Bowl. Now, they haven't been very close the last few years. Winnipeg has actually won quite handily. I don't believe that'll happen. I actually think the best game of the weekend is Ottawa-Toronto. I think it's such a huge game for both teams. Ottawa, if they win this, they get the separation that gives them a little bit into potentially hosting a playoff game over Toronto. They play only 2 times this year. Toronto's got some injuries on defense. Ryan Hunter, his wife had a baby yesterday, so he's not going to play. So they're going to be playing short on their offensive line. I think the game's got a lot of intrigue, and which game is the best? Again, that's such a tough one. I think tonight's has as much intrigue as any, but all of them are fantastic. Even the Calgary game, Calgary is not starting Jake Mayer. So they benched Jake Mayer for this return match in the Labor Day game, and they're going to play Logan Bonner, a rookie. Dave Dickinson's just had it. I mean, they are a boring team. They are a team that they're hard to watch. They really are. And I think Dave had enough of it, and he said, you know what, we're not going anywhere in a hurry. We need to do something. So again, Edmonton is probably as hot a team as there is in the league at this point. So that game's intriguing. So I don't know. Which one is it, Rod?
I'm with you. Well, I think tonight, because the question was not what's the biggest game, because the biggest game I think is the Banjo Bowl historically, but what I think will be the best game is tonight. Rourke versus Fajardo, Lions versus Alouettes. That's me. Mama, you blew my mind, Jim. I don't know where to start. Well, a lot of things. I brought up how George Cortez, I really learned in 2013, George would sit me down. Him and I are really close, and explain. He would tell me how he would set up a season, coaching-wise and play-calling-wise, and he was keeping Durant in the barn, basically, all year, even though Durant wanted to get outside the pocket and use his legs. George's like, no, we're setting that all up until the end, right? And that's when he let Darian out of the barn, and they beat BC in the semifinal. He rushed for 100 yards. My point, all that is, you want to build. It's not 18 individual games over and the same thing every game. My point is, Edmonton's hot right now. And Sask could still get hot. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but you want to build, right? The season's a journey.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. And what is Winnipeg? I mean, Winnipeg they still haven't played their best football, but they are winning because they're back to their physical style. They're playing great defense. What's going to happen with that? So it is a very intriguing tonight. Like tonight, you have Montreal, and defensively, they're as good as there is in the league, and they're healthy. They're, Austin Mack's not playing, but he hasn't played all year. So, I look at them as basically healthy. They got Cody back with Davis Alexander there if something was to happen to him, who, again, I think is, of all the backups, has proven himself to be good. Although you look at BC, now you got Vernon Adams there. So if Nathan Rourke comes out and has a mediocre first half, is there a hook on him to put in Vernon Adams? That's the kind of intrigue in this game tonight that you're going to see. Like Nathan Rourke played great in the first half last week, and then he played very average in the second half. I think they won the second half 7-6, and but played very average. If he plays average in the first half, at what point do they go to Vernon Adams? And then once they do that, what happens to Nathan Rourke? There's so many great storylines in this game. But when it comes down to it, I'm a huge believer in defense and physicality, and I think Montreal has defense and physicality over the BC Lions. I just do. I think Montreal is a physical football team, and I think it's going to be very. That's a tough trip. Traveling from Vancouver to Montreal is always a tough trip. So, again, I like Montreal's chances in this one. But, again, a huge game for BC. Huge at 6-6.
Yeah. The Rough Riders are the Dallas Cowboys of the CFL. And that's what most people want to talk about. So I do want to talk about that for a second. They're winless in 6. They're not favored to win the Banjo Bowl. That would make 7. I think Winnipeg is going to win. And we're in the home stretch, man. 6 games to go. That's the start of the home stretch to me, Jim. Like, do you see them turning it around? I mean, it could turn around just as fast as it went south. But I don't know if they're trending that way. What do you see?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think it's difficult this time of the year to completely get out of it, especially with the history they've had over the last 3 years. Over the last 3 years, they've had great starts and then fizzled and haven't even won games after Labor Day. Now, I do think that this is a better football team, better coached. But one point on this game's going to be on CTV, not on TSN. So for people who want to watch, go to CTV, the public station, and for the first time in a long time, we'll be on CTV for that game. So just something for all your viewers to have a heads up when they go and they say, "Where's this game at?" So it'll be on CTV. Yeah. But that is going to be an interesting game. Zach Collaros comes back. Obviously, they can't win with Streveler, I don't believe. If Streveler's their only guy, I don't think they can win. And Zach, we know what his history with concussions is. I mean, the kid didn't need to do it, Miles Brown. I don't think it was a malicious hit. I was shocked it took him out of the game. I figured, that it just didn't seem like it was that hard. But it's interesting. We did a thing with Dave Dickinson when he was going through his head problems when we were in Calgary, and he was a player. And I don't know if you remember, but he went through some severe concussion issues at the end of his career. And they put a thing on his helmet, and he took one of the biggest hits ever to the side of his head, and it rang up as no big hit. He took a glancing blow in the temple, and it knocked him out. It put him out. That was basically the blow that ended his career, and it was just a glancing blow. So you just never know when you're dealing with hitting in the head. So if they have Zach, I just think that Winnipeg's right now, I think the team to beat there. If Saskatchewan can get a win and they can go back to playing that physical football, get the secondary together. I mean, their secondary the last few weeks has just been, I don't know, it just seems like a hodgepodge. Roland Milligan playing as good as anybody in the league. But the other guys have got to pick it up. Nelson Lacombo playing free safety. I haven't seen him develop there. He was a corner his whole college career. They drafted him as a DB who can run, but they moved him to free safety. And this team reminds me a lot of Winnipeg back in 2019. And they moved Brandon Alexander to free safety for Jeff Hecht. And from that point on, they went on. Zach came in, and that was a huge part of it. But their defense became different when they put that real physical player in the middle. And I think Saskatchewan's missing that. That's just my personal, view watching them. Is that they need to get some.
We
more
got
help
a lot of. I want to move on. Yeah, I'd like to move on. we've got a lot of viewers in Hamilton because it's a great CFL town, as you know. And I would call it an upset. I was favored by 7 going into that Tim Hortons Field for the Labor Day game. And Scott Milanovich said after, it's been a long year. Fired both coordinators. Are they turning it around? Looks like they are.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing better. They're playing with more confidence. Offensively, they've been pretty good all year, but they've had to play perfect because their defense was so bad, giving up well over 30 a game. And again, it was one of those games, went down. It was a walk-off field goal to win it. And, give Hamilton credit. They got a big lead, and then they hung on. Toronto battled back. They went from 24-6 to 28-27, and then they tied it at 28, and then, like I say, the walk-off field goal by Leggio. So I think they're playing with a lot more confidence on defense. That's what Chris Jones brings. They're getting turnovers, which they didn't get earlier. That's kind of their biggest change. I think Bo Levi, I thought Scott Milanovich had a great game plan for attacking that coverage that Toronto's trying to play, and they're running a guy through and then bringing guys under, and they're wide open. And I thought that he missed, in watching the film, he missed a couple guys just not seeing them that were also as wide open. So the Toronto defense has got to get better prior to their game against Ottawa, because Drew Brown could have a field day if they don't get that thing together. And kudos to Hamilton. They're on a bye week this week, and to be able to get that offense, what they haven't had is big plays. Tim White's their only speed. They haven't had big plays. Now that this game, they were able to get some big plays that completely turned the tide for them.
Well, Jim, I tell you what, I'm excited about the games. Obviously, Hamilton is off this weekend, but do you agree the home stretch begins now? I don't know about you, but this season feels like it's gone by very fast.
It has, and this is the second season. This is everything to this point. Like I say, in the West, every team is even. To call this a Grey Cup preview, you could put Montreal against any one of 4 teams over there and say this could be a Grey Cup preview, because every team in the West has a shot at it. Obviously, in the East, Montreal's going to have to, what they're going to fight is what Toronto fought last year, is how do we rest guys? They've already clinched a playoff spot. Now, they haven't clinched first place, but they're going to have the same problem, and I think Toronto maybe got a little stale, and it hurt them in the playoff game. But that's what Montreal is going to be fighting here these next few weeks. So they're going to want to stay sharp, but again, want to be healthy going into that first round of the playoffs in November.
Were you with the 04 Alouettes?
The 04 Alouettes? No, I was with the 02 Alouettes. We won the Grey Cup with Anthony Calvillo. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting old. I'm reading the game notes, and if I have the right year, the Alouettes still have to win 2 more games just to match. I think it's the 04 Alouettes who started 12-1, or was that you?
That was us in 02, and we lost. Well, we were I think 9-0, okay. And we lost. We lost when we went to BC. On last minute, we had Ben Cahoon. We thought in the corner of the end zone, but he was out of bounds. And but we had a great start, and we ended up, playing well. But that was the 02. So 04, I was fired in Calgary. I had cut the boxmaker's kid, so they fired me. So 2004, I was out of the CFL.
Yeah, don't do that. Hey, you got their attention. Jeff the Stamps fan wants to know 4 teams in the West. Who are you leaving out? Saskatchewan? He wants to know who's not in your 4.
Honestly, I'm leaving out Calgary because they just do nothing for me. I watch them, and they do nothing. They do nothing offensively to make me think that they've got a chance. Their running game has kind of diminished since they've lost Dedrick Mills. Their defense has now has more pressure on them, not playing as well. Peyton Logan, he doesn't return that kick. That game against Edmonton on Labor Day isn't even close. So Calgary's the team I kind of say I have a hard time visualizing them making it to the playoffs. But that's the 5th team, and I'm glad somebody picked up on that.
There you go, Jeff. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. He actually says, I was joking. I knew the answer. That was from Jeff. Okay, thanks, Jim. I enjoy the visit. There's this here in South Florida that get together to watch the games, big CFL fans. Maybe one day I'll send you a photo. But we enjoy the work you're doing. The games are great.
That.
Thanks, man. I will.
All right, thanks, Rod.
Jim Barker from the CFL on TSN.